Every day for breakfast, I eat yogurt. Seriously, every single day. Why? To get probiotics. I'm not exaggerating when I say that taking probiotics and really focusing on my gut health has been one of the most transformative things I've ever done for both my body and my mind. As someone who suffers from health anxiety, I'm always looking for ways to protect myself, to strengthen my body, to keep myself safe. And when I started really diving into the research behind the gut microbiome and the role of probiotics, it completely changed how I look at health, both physical and mental. For a long time, I thought of gut health as something sort of isolated, like your stomach digests food, end of story. But now we know that the gut is so much more than that. It's this massive, living, breathing ecosystem of bacteria, fungi, and other microorganisms, collectively called the microbiota, that play a role in basically everything, from immunity to mood to even how we think. And here's the kicker. The majority of these microbes live in your intestines, especially your colon. And they're not just passengers. They're active, crucial participants in your health. Probiotics are live microorganisms, usually strains of bacteria or yeast, that when taken in adequate amounts, confer health benefits on the host. And that host is you. What's amazing is how much research has come out in the last decade showing that regularly taking probiotics or eating fermented foods can actually improve a huge variety of conditions. We're talking digestion, inflammation, immune function, and even mood disorders like anxiety and depression. Let's start with digestion. This is the most obvious place people think probiotics help, and it's 100% true. If you've ever dealt with bloating, constipation, diarrhea, or even irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, probiotics can be game-changing. There's strong evidence that certain strains, especially Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium, help restore a healthy balance of gut flora and reduce the symptoms of IBS. For someone like me who's prone to spiraling when anything feels off inside my body, having more regular, less uncomfortable digestion is such a relief. It just takes one weird stomach ache to set my brain off into what if it's cancer mode. So when probiotics help keep everything calm and balanced down there, it keeps me calm and balanced up here. But it's not just the gut symptoms. Here's where things get really interesting. About 70% of your immune system actually lives in your gut. That blew my mind when I first read it. The gut and the immune system are in constant communication. A healthy, diverse microbiome helps train your immune cells to distinguish between friend and foe, meaning you're less likely to overreact to harmless things like pollen or food, and more likely to mount an effective defense when you actually encounter a virus or bacteria. I take this seriously because the idea of getting sick is one of the biggest triggers for my anxiety. So knowing that the probiotic strains I'm taking might actually help my immune system do its job better gives me a much-needed sense of control. Another layer to this, and this is big for health anxiety sufferers like me, is inflammation. Chronic low-grade inflammation has been linked to so many scary-sounding diseases: cancer, heart disease, autoimmune disorders, even cognitive decline. And guess what? Your gut microbiota plays a major role in regulating inflammation. When your gut bacteria are in balance, they produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, which help reduce inflammation throughout the body. When they're out of balance, what scientists call dysbiosis, your gut wall can become more permeable, which some people refer to as leaky gut. That allows inflammatory substances to leak into your bloodstream and set off all kinds of downstream effects. Here's how I look at it. If there's even a small chance that taking a daily probiotic helps reduce chronic inflammation and keep my gut wall strong and healthy, I'm doing it every single day. Because inflammation is like the silent killer. It's behind so many of the diseases I fear most. But perhaps the most fascinating part of this whole gut health story is the brain-gut connection. We used to think the brain controlled everything, including the gut. But now we know it's a two-way street. Your gut is in constant communication with your brain through something called the vagus nerve, and the microbes in your gut actually produce neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. In fact, about 90% of your serotonin, the chemical responsible for feelings of well-being and happiness, is made in your gut. That's not a typo. 90%. And for someone with anxiety, including health anxiety, this is a huge deal. Because when your gut microbiome is healthy and diverse, your brain feels the effects. There's growing research showing that certain probiotic strains, particularly Lactobacillus rhamnosus and Bifidobacterium longum, can actually lower levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, and reduce anxiety symptoms in both animals and humans. These are often called psychobiotics because they affect mental health via the gut. That right there changed the game for me. The idea that something as simple as taking a probiotic or eating fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, or even a good quality miso could have a real impact on my anxiety, I'm all in. Because when I'm anxious, it's not just in my head. I feel it in my stomach, in my digestion, in my sleep. Everything is connected. And healing the gut helps untangle that whole web. Another thing I found fascinating and encouraging is that people who suffer from chronic conditions like allergies, asthma, eczema, and autoimmune diseases often have less diverse microbiomes. The diversity of bacteria in your gut is like an ecosystem. The more species you have, the more resilient and functional it is. And modern life is really tough on our gut bugs. Antibiotics, processed foods, artificial sweeteners, stress, and even lack of sleep. All of these things wipe out the diversity in our microbiome, which is why I've become a little obsessed with restoring mine. It's not just probiotics. Prebiotics are also key. These are the fibers your gut bacteria feed on. I try to eat a variety of plant-based foods: onions, garlic, leeks, bananas, oats, apples. The more variety in your diet, the better your gut bugs can thrive. I've also cut back significantly on sugar and ultra-processed foods, since they tend to feed the harmful bacteria and starve the good ones. What I'm trying to do here isn't just about avoiding illness. It's about creating a body that is more resilient, more adaptable, and less vulnerable to the kinds of imbalances that can lead to chronic conditions. And for someone like me, that's not just smart, it's essential. Because if I can lower my chances of getting sick, I lower the volume on that constant voice in my head that's always asking, is this something serious? One thing I'll mention is that not all probiotics are created equal. The strains matter, and so does the CFU count, colony-forming units. I personally look for a multi-strain probiotic with at least 10 billion CFUs, and I rotate every few months so my body doesn't get too used to one kind. I also try to get live cultures from food sources when I can, because those often come with their own naturally occurring prebiotics and enzymes. There are still a lot of questions in this field. Gut health is a rapidly evolving area of science. But from everything I've read and everything I've experienced personally, it's clear that a balanced, healthy microbiome is one of the most important things you can cultivate if you want to stay healthy long-term. And as someone with health anxiety, that's my whole goal. I'm not trying to be perfect. I just want to feel like I'm giving myself the best possible chance, that I'm being proactive, that I'm stacking the odds in my favor, and taking care of my gut through probiotics, food, and lifestyle is one of the best ways I've found to do that. So if you're like me, and you live with that constant hum of fear in the background, about diseases, about symptoms, about what might happen tomorrow, this is something you can control. You can nurture your gut. You can strengthen your system. You can calm the inflammation and maybe even your mind. One capsule, one bite, one choice at a time. Because your gut isn't just where food is digested. It's where health begins.